My brothers and sisters, sometimes it's not the big moments that test our sincerity, it's the small ones, the silent ones, the moments where no one sees us, but Allah is watching. Imagine, you're standing in prayer, connecting with your Lord, and suddenly you feel it. You know your wudhu is broken. What do? Do you continue for the sake of appearances or pause for the sake of your Creator? This isn't just about a physical action. It's a test of your heart, your honesty, your submission. Today, we're going to talk about one of those real life moments that so many experience but few talk about. A moment that may seem awkward, yet it carries the weight of deep sincerity, hidden faith, and true obedience to Allah. So stay with me till the very end of this talk, not because it's a lecture, but because it might just change the way you look at worship, purity, and how you stand in front of the Lord of the worlds. What you'll hear today could be the reminder your heart needed, one that brings ease, clarity, and confidence in your journey with Allah. In Islam, the state of Wudhu or ablution is a condition for the validity of Salah or prayer. Without it, the prayer is not accepted. One of the well-known things that break Wudhu is passing wind. This is clearly mentioned in the authentic hadith of the Prophet Muhammad, who said, the prayer of none amongst you would be accepted if he breaks wind, unless he performs ablution again. This shows the importance of maintaining purity while engaging in such a sacred act as Salah. Islam places a great emphasis on cleanliness, both physically and spiritually. It is not just a physical act of washing parts of the body, but a spiritual preparation to stand before Allah. When a person knowingly passes wind during prayer and continues praying without renewing their wudhu, the prayer becomes invalid. It is as though the person is standing without permission in front of the King of all kings. This act, though it may seem small to some, reflects disobedience to a clear instruction of the Prophet. Scholars of Islam agree that knowingly praying in a state of impurity is not acceptable and must be repeated. This is why a person must be conscious of their condition during prayer. If there is doubt about where the wind was passed, the Prophet instructed not to break the prayer unless one hears a sound or smells something. But if it is certain, then there is no excuse to continue. It is better to stop, purify oneself, and return to prayer with full consciousness and respect. The dignity of Salah is too high to be taken lightly. It is the moment a slave stands before his master, and it must be done in the state Allah has commanded, beginning with the purity of wudhu. In Islam, sincerity is the foundation of every act of worship. The prayer is not just a series of movements. It is a direct conversation between the slave and his Lord. When a person knows that their wudhu has been broken, but still continues to pray, they are not being honest in that conversation. It may seem like no one around knows, but Allah knows. This act, though outwardly complete, is spiritually empty because it lacks the condition of purity. Islam teaches that actions are judged by intentions, but also by adherence to rules set by Allah and His Messenger. To knowingly continue in prayer without karhazanuwu, that's not just a ritual mistake, it reflects a deeper problem in ajr. It is the reflection of creating a world that cannot find the salvation, sincerity. The person may be worried about what others think if they leave the prayer, but Allah tests us with these very moments. Will you care more about pleasing people or pleasing your Creator? This is a private test between you and Him. If you get up and walk out quietly to make wudhu again, perhaps no one notices. But even if they do, your reward with Allah is immense because you chose Him over your image. The fear of embarrassment should never outweigh the love for Allah's commands. That is why scholars emphasize that sincerity means doing what is right even when no one is watching, or even when everyone is watching and judging. There is a hidden beauty in obeying Allah secretly, in those little moments that seem minor to others, but are great in His eyes. Choosing to stop the prayer because your wudhu broke is a moment of truth. It shows that your prayer was not a performance for people, but a sincere act of submission to Allah, even if it meant starting all over again. When a person experiences a break in their wudhu during prayer, such as passing wind, interrupting the salah is not considered sinful or blameworthy in Islam. On the contrary, it becomes an obligation to stop at that point, because the condition of purity is no longer fulfilled. This act of stopping the prayer is actually an act of obedience and submission to Allah. Many people, especially in congregational prayers, might feel embarrassed or hesitant to walk away, fearing judgment from others around them. However, what truly matters is one's sincerity and commitment to fulfilling the command of Allah properly. Islam is a religion built on ease, truth, and clarity, and it never burdens a soul beyond its capacity. The moment a person realizes their wudu is invalid, continuing the prayer would no longer be considered valid worship. Instead, stopping the prayer becomes a demonstration of respect for the sacred nature of Salah. It's not about completing the motions. It's about standing before Allah in the state He has legislated. If a person were to continue praying in a state of impurity, that Salah would have to be repeated and it might not be accepted in the first place. Therefore, it is actually wiser, more rewarding and spiritually correct to immediately pause, excuse oneself respectfully, perform wudu again and return to prayer. There is no shame in doing what Allah loves. The Prophet taught his companions how to handle such situations with wisdom and dignity, and he never blamed anyone for leaving a prayer due to a valid reason. Islam promotes mindfulness and responsibility. When you break your prayer for the sake of following Allah's commands, you are not committing a sin. You are honoring your duty as a servant of Allah and preserving the sanctity of your worship. When a person breaks their wudu during Salah, the correct course of action is to immediately exit the prayer and perform ablution again before restarting. Wudu is not simply a ritual. It is a condition set by Allah for the validity of prayer. Without it, the Salah holds no weight, no matter how perfectly the physical actions are performed. Renewing wudu is a sign of submission to divine rules and an act of purification that prepares the heart and body to stand before the Almighty. The Prophet Muhammad emphasized the importance of purity before prayer, and the companions took this matter very seriously. If someone in the congregation experienced a break in their wudu, they would quietly step away, perform ablution, and rejoin or restart the prayer. There is no blame in doing so. In fact, it is a sign of taqwa, consciousness of Allah. Sometimes a person may be concerned about what others will think if they suddenly leave during prayer. But what truly matters is how Allah views your actions. If you break your prayer for His sake, to obey Him, you are earning reward, not shame. After completing wudu, it is necessary to begin the prayer from the beginning, as the previous one was invalid. Even if the prayer was almost finished, it has to be restarted once the state of purity is regained. Islam teaches that quality and correctness in worship are more important than rushing to complete something in an imperfect state. This also serves as a reminder that prayer is not a performance for people, but a deeply spiritual connection between the servant